Good morning, guys. I hope everyone is well. Happy Thursday. It is the 2nd of April, and this is your daily market outlook for today. So, before we get into any chart analysis, I just want to make sure that you guys understand that the content on these videos and inside of the Discord is for educational and informational purposes only. I am not a financial advisor, and nothing shared in my videos or Discord should be considered financial, investment, or trading advice. Always make sure that you do your own research before making any financial decisions, and also understand that any past performances discussed does not guarantee future results. You are always responsible for your own trading. So, with that being said, let's get straight into the markets and see what is going on. Look, I'm going to come in here and just absolutely, I don't even know what the word is, but just absolutely buzz myself up because yesterday we had our live trading call yesterday evening, and everything just worked out to an absolute T. So, it's amazing to see, what I teach just play out perfectly, which is truly, truly a blessing. So let's get straight into it and see what is going on. So hopefully you guys should be able to see my screen. Yep, you can. So going into today, in regards to news, we have pretty much unemployment claims as the only red folder news today, which is at 2:30 my time. So, it's currently, as I'm recording this, quarter to one my time. So, yeah, let's see what happens in regards to that. And then, of course, the big one, which is NFP tomorrow, which we can obviously expect, market volume to be crazy going into tomorrow, of course. So keep an eye out on the fundamental side of the news going into Thursday and Friday. And then that leads me going on to the major pairs. So as you can see yesterday, what did we discuss? Last night's call, we discussed the fact that if we look at the daily time frame, we noticed straight away that we came to a minimum of 50% on the fib from this higher low to this daily higher high. We dipped lower than that 50%. There was nothing as clear as we would like, meaning demand-wise, like we do have in these scenarios here. But what we noticed was we have, imbalance or a start of a daily imbalance here. So that was two confirmations or two confluences to give us into why we could potentially go and create a new higher high. Now going into the 4 hour and the 1 hour, the next thing that we noticed was obviously 4 hour wasn't the cleanest for longs. We obviously had this supply area here, which is just completely smashed through. But one thing we identified together as a community was we noticed that on the 1 hour time frame, we come into this level of 1 hour demand area here. This area was not touched previously, as you can see. And what happened was market came into this, slowed down, started consolidating, and then we got this big, two big candles here, two big 1 hour candles, engulfing candle, and then obviously left imbalance. And what we discussed heavily last night was we discussed obviously having basically focusing more on the dollar going long. And the area that we talked about was this 1 hour demand area. And as you can see, what market did was exactly what we expected, dipped into this 1 hour demand and then just absolutely shot off away from there. So yeah, beautiful, beautiful trade, beautiful analysis. And you guys should be obviously proud of you guys, proud of yourselves if you noticed that as well. But the confirmations, just to quickly go over, the daily was bullish. The daily come lower than the 50% on the Fibonacci, which is another confirmation, which means we're in a discounted area. It then also tapped into the last imbalance on the daily time frame, so three confirmations. Then going into the 1 hour, we can see that we have a level of demand which was unmitigated, not been touched. And then we also have another confirmation, which was we took out the liquidity of that demand as well. You can see we took out the low of this area here, which is market dip below, consolidated. And then the sixth confirmation was we have obviously this volume here, this engulfing candle, and then obviously this candle as well, which give us all confirmations that we should be looking to long this. And obviously that's what happened. Now going into the rest of today, let's see what can happen. I'm just going to go to the 4 hour. Obviously, we've got a lot of bullishness from here. As of right now, bulls are in control from the daily standpoint, the 4 hour standpoint, and also the 1 hour. So, it's a bit far away, but what I would like to see is if we could potentially get this level of 4 hour demand area. Look, for me, I'm obviously just going to be, I've just noticed, did I even record this? 1 second, guys. Yes, I did. I didn't even notice if I recorded it or not. So there we go, back to it. So one thing I'm going to notice with the dollar is obviously it's a big, huge candle. We've got a lot of imbalance here to fill as well. The one thing that I'm interested in is potentially just getting some sort of, shorts into this demand area and then seeing if we can go and break that daily higher high. That is my main focus from a 4 hour perspective. If we jump down to the 1 hour, what can we see? Obviously the same demand area here. We can obviously notice that we are in this level of supply pretty much here. It's a big, ugly 1 hour supply. If we jump down to the 30-minute or the 15-minute, can we refine that area? Obviously, if you wanted to, you can refine it to, the start of the imbalance um, here. But for me, you know, looking at this, you can see market is in that, 15-minute demand area right now, supply area, should I say, 15-minute supply area. I need to see some sort of significant low broke. So let's say we break this low here, um, and this happens, let's say market does this, then we could potentially look for, shorts into filling in this imbalance and potentially into this demand and then figuring out if we're going to go long again. So that is, a scenario that we can look at um, for the US dollar. Of course, we've got 10 minutes left on this candle. All I can see pretty much now is we've got this engulfing candle. We've left this 1 hour demand area. So if the candle finishes as it is engulfed, then dollar is still in control on the lower time frames. And what could happen is market just carries on bullishness from here. Of course, if you're going to go down to the 30-minute, 15-minute, you can do to see if you can get more of a refined entry on that. Of course, which would be potentially this 15-minute demand area here. And yeah, obviously, as of right now, demand is in control in the lower time frames. So yeah, pretty simple. Demand is in control. Bullishness is happening. This is our next area, 15-minute wise. Of course, if market does go bearish and we have that change of trend, we could then look to potentially short. Going into the major pairs, Euro USD and GU, let me just quickly let my dog in. 1 second. Excuse the mess in the room, you probably can't see it anyway. Come on, hurry up. So going into Euro USD, let's see what's happening. Obviously, this is the setup that we had yesterday. If you guys remember from the live trading call, I'm not going to go over it too much because it was on the live call and you guys should have been on. If you wasn't, unlucky. But you can see that market, obviously came into this 1 hour supply and then just completely melted away for a 1 to 3. It's actually done at this moment in time around the 1 to 4, which is, beautiful. So looking at Euro USD, we can see that it's not the prettiest. We are coming into a level of demand on the daily here, but it is really not the prettiest. Let me just let my other dog in, for God's sake. So yeah, Euro USD, as we discussed last night, it is pretty consolidated in regards to, daily structure. We've got a daily lower high here, daily lower low. We failed to break above, we failed to break below. It has just been ranging. Um, but looking at, a scenario from the lower time frames, let's see what we can potentially look for. Obviously, yesterday, like I said, a lot of bearishness into the markets from this supply area that we talked about. Beautiful, beautiful trade. Looking at the 4, we are melting away. And obviously, my next target, for instance, to see potentially market going bullish would be here, this 4 hour demand area. Yes, of course, market could just potentially melt right through that, of course, depending in, obviously what the dollar does. But as of right now, I want to see the market come into this demand area and then see, obviously, if we do go bullish or if it carries on bearish. That is something I'm waiting for, pretty much. Going into the 1 hour, well, going back to that, let's say if market comes back up, we could obviously look for this level of supply here to short from. So again, going back to the dollar, let's say if the dollar does come into this 1 hour demand area, then obviously EU should come into this 1 hour supply area. And if the dollar reacts from that demand area, then of course we expect EU to react from this supply. Now, of course, playing the other side, if the dollar carries on bullish, then of course GU is going to carry on. Sorry, EU, GU, and etc. is going to carry on bearish. Looking at the 1 hour, you can see that market is obviously just carrying on downwards. We've got 6 minutes left on this chart. The next supply area would be this area, this 1 hour supply area here. Candles engulfed. We've finished below this low. So I'd just expect market to potentially dip, fill in an imbalance, tap into that supply, and carry on downwards from here. Now, again, of course, if the dollar breaks this low, reacts out of this supply, there's nothing significant for EU to look for. Well, there's filling in this imbalance here pretty much. But if it does obviously this, and breaks above these highs, we could potentially see bullishness into this supply area and then make a decision if it's going to be bearish or if it's going to be carrying on bullish. So pretty easy to understand for EU. GU, let's see what's going on. Again, this was my favorite sell going into last night because we had this 1 hour supply area. We took out this high here. We had this reaction away from it, and this was the 1 hour supply area. Bit of a bigger stop loss, but it doesn't matter when the market does this. And this was a 1 to 3 as well. Currently should have done about a 1 to 4, well, 1 to 3.5. But beautiful trade, beautiful trade. Going into the high time frames, the structure's been a lot more better in regards to GU on a daily time frame than it has EU. And we discussed this last night. And what I mean by that is you can see that we have a lot more of a clearer range, daily lower high, daily lower low. What market's done and what these two black lines represent is this was a start of a daily imbalance, and this was another daily imbalance. Now you can see market came into that daily imbalance, which let's just get the fib out, which was also above the 50% of the Fibonacci into the premium area. And that's where market has obviously moved away. Now I am expecting this daily level to be broken. That is my first thought. So going into the four, you can see that my next supply area is far away, but it would be this level of 4 hour supply here. It is far away, but that is the next level to see if market could potentially carry on and then break that low. Or we might already break the low anyway. We might just carry on downwards all today and break the new daily lower low. So that is my main priority for the 4 hour with GU. Now going into the 1 hour, same scenario is obviously there. I can't see much, obviously from this area on a 4 hour or 1 hour as to why we could go bullish. Yes, I drink coffee out with straws because I got my teeth done. Before any of you guys think I'm a weirdo. So looking at this scenario, what could possibly happen? It's probably more of a 15-minute trend, but we have 3 minutes left on this candle. If it finishes engulfed, this would be a 1 hour supply. If you probably go to the 30-minute, 15-minute, it'll probably be a lot more clearer, as you guys can probably see. That's 1 hour. If you want to refine it to this, you obviously can do. And all we're expecting the market to do is, well, lower time frame supply is in control. So this is what I'm expecting the market to do, unless we obviously go vice versa on the dollar, meaning we go bearish and we break this low. And if that's the case, then of course we can expect bullishness. If we break the high, potentially look for longs into this 4 hour supply area. So let's see what happens. Pretty much all going to be the same, I can imagine, on EU, GU, and other major pairs. So let's see. Now, NU, let's have a look at what she is doing. NU didn't come into that 1 hour supply. It actually reacted from the 4 hour supply area, which is, this whole candle here. So yeah, I was waiting for the 1 hour supply area, but we didn't get that. But it reacted from that 4 hour. Now looking at NU from the daily, again, it wasn't my favorite setup because we had this daily lower high, daily lower low. I wanted to see at least come into this imbalance because we didn't come above the 50% on the Fibonacci. So it wasn't one of my favorites anyway. Looking at the scenario currently, I'm expecting that low to get broke here today, potentially in the next couple of hours. Let me just move this second. So yeah, I'm expecting this low to get broke. So let's see what happens. Going into the four. Um, we obviously have this level of supply being our next 4 hour supply area. Let's move these back. That would be the next 4 hour supply area we can obviously keep an eye on. If market comes back up there, then obviously be looking to potentially short from there. That would be a scenario, but let's see what the lower time frame is potentially doing. So at this moment in time, we've come into this demand, which is a 1 hour demand area. Just understanding that daily's bearish, we're very close to this daily lower low, so we could potentially take it. Um, yeah, I'm not too sure personally at this moment in time in long in this, unless, like I said, unless we go bearish on the dollar. If we go bearish on the dollar, then we can obviously look for longs into this supply area. Um, but yeah, let's just have a look at what is currently going on. One thing I can notice if we just look from the naked eye, I can see that market is reacted from this level here as a 1 hour supply area. We've got this candle closure right now. So what we can expect is we can expect potentially market to potentially come back into, this level of supply here, which will be a 15 or 30-minute supply. We'll just put it as 30-minute supply area. And yeah, man, all I would expect is the dollar, the dollar, sorry, NU to potentially just carry on from down here. Again, if market breaks above, then and the dollar's broke below, we can try and see if we can get them longs into that supply area. But as of right now, the lower time frame supply is in control as well. AUD USD, beautiful trade again. Listen, we did 15% last night, just on last night's trading call. 15%. I want you guys to understand that 15% from last night's live call, which is completely free. How serious are you guys about trading? That is my question to you guys. How actually serious are you? Because some people say they're serious, but they're not. And that's just the God's honest truth. Now, going into the daily, you can see that what market did was market, coming to this imbalance here, took out the high as well, and now we've got that movement away. Um, NU and AU on the daily hasn't been as nice as the dollar and GU, for instance. If we look at the 4 hour, let's just remove this. What was we discussing last night? Well, we was discussing that we had this 4 hour supply area, which was unmitigated. Market come up, also took out the high, which was a confirmation. We looked at this candle here. This 4 hour, this 4 hour candle told us that volume, was slowing down. So, we was expecting bearishness because of the dollar as well. Um, As you can see, we obviously tapped into that supply, moved away. The next supply area on the 4 hour would be this level here. This level of 4 hour supply. And it's the same scenario as the other major pairs. If we can get market coming up, that would be where I'm potentially looking to short from for long term on the 4 hour. Now going into the 1 hour, what can we see? Well, at this moment in time, one thing I can notice is we're coming into a level of demand here on the 1 hour. Let me just mark this out. We're coming to this level of demand here on the 1 hour. Um, of course, going back to the dollar as we do, if we go bearish and we have a change of trend and we, short into this area, then this could be a potential good area for longs into this supply area. Um, so that's something to keep an eye on. But as of right now, structure-wise is the same as the other major pairs. And that is, you can see lower low, lower high, lower low. So we're probably just going to expect a lower high to carry on, unless we break above that high. And what I would be waiting for is a break above this high here, or of course, if you want to be a bit more riskier, this high here, but mainly this one. And then obviously, if we do break above, we could potentially look for the longs into this level of supply here. But at this moment in time, we've just had this engulfing candle here. If you look at the 30-minute, ideally, I would want to see, potentially this area is very small, but potentially this area of supply here being a 30-minute supply area. It may not come right up into that, but let's see. But the lower time frame supply is in control at this moment in time. So let's see. Let's see what happens. Let me just quickly look at the 15-minute as well. Yeah, it's the same 30-minute, 15-minute supply. So yeah, as of right now, you can see if we just quickly mark this out here, 15-minute supply areas are in control here as well. So, you can see market retracing, filling in that imbalance into that supply, melting away. So that is what I'm expecting, just to carry on following the lower time frame trend, unless we get a break above, of course, this high or this high here. Pretty easy to understand. Every single major pair is pretty much the same at this moment in time. USD CHF, again, another absolute beauty of a trade, which, as you can see, was spot on, analysis spot on, a 1 to 3 done. Daily time frame, what is the daily time frame telling us? Well, higher low on the daily, higher high here as well. And what is currently happening is, of course, market has dipped into that imbalance here, filled in that imbalance, and then got this bullishness away. So I'm expecting market to potentially, go and break that higher high. That is my main thought going into USD CHF. Let's see if we can get that from a daily perspective. Going into the 4, we obviously talked a lot about the fact that obviously market could react because of the dollar, which it has done. So my 1 hour, 4 hour demand area would just be this area here. This 4 hour demand area here. Of course, as the other pairs were nowhere near, but at this moment in time, that would be the long term aim. If we could get market to come into that from a 4 hour perspective, looking at the 1 hour, looking at the 1 hour. Well, just quickly on the 4 as well, actually. If you look, we are coming into this level of 4 hour supply here. This level of 4 hour supply. Of course, it's a riskier area, very risky area. Again, it aligns with if the dollar, if you'll hear me saying, if the dollar breaks and we go short into this demand, then yes, obviously we could go short from this supply into this next level of demand. But, at this moment in time, am I, going to be looking for shorts here right now? No, I'm not. And obviously, you can see 1 hour is bullish. If we was to carry on bullish, I'd expect this level of, demand area to stick from a 1 hour perspective, and carry on upwards from here. At this moment in time, if we broke below this low here, so let's say market did this, then you could be looking for potential short entries into this demand area. And then we also have this 1 hour demand area inside of that 4 hour demand area as well. So yeah, let's see. Let's see what happens going into the rest of this week. Going into USD Japanese yen, 1 to 3 on USD Japanese yen from last night's live trading call. I don't know, man. If you're not there, you guys are at fault. Blame yourselves. Um, Looking at the daily, let's see what is going on. Daily is bullish, daily higher low, daily higher high, reactive from this daily demand area. Um, you know, looking at the four, you can see that obviously on the daily we dipped below that 50%. Let me just quickly show you, which is a confirmation. Dip below the 50% range on the daily. There was nothing as clear as I'd like in these areas from a 4 hour perspective or as to why the market could, go bullish, but we was aligning it with the dollar. The dollar is the most important currency that we trade. Now, looking at this from a 4 hour perspective, of course, it's the same scenario. We have this level of 4 hour demand down here, that we could potentially look to long from if market comes up into down into these areas. Of course, the if is a big question, but that is the 4 hour. Oh, 1 second. That is the 4 hour that we would be looking for long term. Looking at market at this moment in time, I can notice that we have come into this level here as a 4 hour supply area. Um, but just look at the bullishness. Let's just see, let's see. But we have come into that 4 hour supply area. Let's look at the 1 hour and see if we can see, anything. We can refine that 4 hour right now to this 1 hour supply area here. We are slowing down in that area as well. You can see we're consolidated over the past couple of hours. 1 hour is still bullish. We still have this 1 hour demand area here. So, two scenarios would be, of course, bullishness carries on from here. That is one scenario. The next scenario would be, of course, if if market decides to go bearish and you look for shorts to then come into this 4 hour demand area to then look for potential longs or potential shorts to carry on. So yeah, let's see what goes on. Let me just quickly look at the lower time frames with USD Japanese yen. If you look at it from a 15-minute, one thing that you could potentially do, and it's a little bit more of an aggressive trade. If we break this low on a 15-minute on the dollar, then obviously you guys can look at this level of 15-minute area being broke, and it's a lot more riskier and aggressive. But if we do, then you could potentially look to maybe hedge the markets, which means buy and sell at the same time. You can potentially get in longs here, but also look to short here and seeing which one plays out. Yes, you might take a stop loss of one, but let's say you get in a sell scenario, and you have a stop loss here. You can obviously hold this for longer, and vice versa for the long if you get in a short. But yeah, let's see what happens in regards to these major pairs going into this today, Thursday, and tomorrow, Friday. As I said, NFP going into tomorrow as well. But yeah, man, that is what I have got for today's daily market outlook. I appreciate you guys as always, and I will see you guys on tonight's live call. Take care.